I'll do another video here. Today I'm just going to be talking on the school which has been run by Catherine Singh, often touted as the strictest head teacher in Britain at the Michaela Community School. Apologies if I seem a little bit distracted. I'm doing this from notes on paper, so I do apologise if I do come across a little bit distracted during this. But anyway, so the school is currently facing a High Court challenge for a female Muslim student who can't be named for legal reasons. Obviously, I do agree with her not being named. You know, she's only a child after all, and this isn't a criminal case, so to speak, so her privacy should be respected in regards to that, as should any children. With the exception, obviously, in the most extreme of cases, for example, you know, like the James Bulger case, where Robert Thompson and John Venables were obviously named for legal reasons. Now, this is essentially over the banning of praying in the school, but it's going to be made very clear that the school makes it absolutely known during its enrolment process that the school is actually a secular school. But the banning of itself appears to have been put into place as strict as it has from a growing sectarianism within the body of students in the school. Miss Singh is quoted in this article as saying, "The school governing body decided to stop prayer rituals when some pupils started them after a backdrop of events including violence, intimidation and appalling racial harassment of our teachers." Now, call me cynical if you want, but we have been seeing a growing amount of racism in the country and anti-Semitism, and it quite often gets touted as it being white supremacy or institutional racism, all these other things. But I am very curious to wonder if actually a lot of this is coming from actually more minority communities within the country, people who do tend to come from what would used to be called third world nations, do tend to hold very, to put it politely, conservative views, especially regarding people from other ethnicities, races and religions. So my own gut feeling is that yes, racism and anti-Semitism is increasing, but I don't think it's necessarily from the indigenous population or even people from European nations. And I do have a feeling it's coming from the increase, firstly, in the amount of people moving to the UK from outside of what you would call the EU or the Anglosphere, but also people who are obviously not integrated into wider society and moving into effectively enclaves, or possibly we could even class them as colonies at this point, some of these areas. So on Wednesday, various issues were raised in the High Court about the school, a school which has roughly 700 pupils, and approximately half of those are identified as Muslims. The school has observed, and I quote, "a cultural shift while they expanded as segregation between religious groups and intimidation within the group of Muslim pupils." So it does actually appear that the school is reaching a tipping point where, and I am speculating here, where the Muslims appear to see themselves as being a majority group and are now trying to exert a force on the other pupils in a sense. And this isn't uncommon to happen in areas. This has happened a lot in northern towns where we've ended up with large Muslim populations, and led to things like the Oldham riots, although that has never been conclusively proven. That's my feeling on that, to do with racial tensions, has been down to and with the group, and that's been seen as things like the grooming gang, which has been an exertion of force over the local population, amongst many other things as well. But a big part of it is asserting dominance in a local area, in my own opinion. Now the article goes on into much more depth. I really do recommend you read it. I'll put the link in below. Please do go read it, because there's loads and loads of information in there. It's very telling. But I want to link in some other stories in relation to this one from the week, which have happened in other schools in England. First of these two is that one has been reported on quite widely, I believe, even on the BBC, which was of two Sikh boys being assaulted by a gang of Muslim lads. One of the videos is there's a boy stood against a wall, there's a gang surrounding him and they're all punching him in the face, kicking him. And I believe there's also, although I've not seen it, where they forced a lad to kneel in a toilet while they've been hitting him as well. I'll link the reporting that I've seen below this. It's not nice to watch, but it's just more as evidence of that I've actually seen this and not just making it up. It's absolutely awful to watch. But thankfully, I do believe that the police are getting involved, and rightly so. But again, it does seem to be an exertion of power and dominance within the school, because it is in my opinion, it is specifically targeted to those boys because they are Sikhs and because they're not part of the Islamic in-group. In-group preferential treatment, obviously, being a big thing when you get outside of Western countries. We've seen this many times as well in other reports that I've commented on. If I find them, I'll link some more in the bottom. Basically of nepotism that we see, third world nepotism, very common outside of the developed world. But secondly, and I don't believe this has been reported on, was what appears to be a conversion to Islam of an English boy. Now the mainstream media, from what I can see, haven't reported on this, and they are appearing to be sweeping it under the carpet, very similar to what happened with the grooming gangs. Now, no, those are totally different things, but forced conversion is a very big problem within the prison system, where it's used as almost a form of protection racket. Convert or get assaulted, basically, is what seems to happen in a lot of prisons. But now we do seem to be starting to see this happening within schools as well, and I wonder if it's been going on for a long time, where young boys are getting targeted and forced to convert to Islam, or they're going to get beaten up at the schools. I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up being the case. Now, I do think that this is probably going to continue to get worse, because we have had record migration over the last couple of years, and immigration is not going to slow down, I don't think, for numbers of years, and we are going to see more and more of these people coming from these sorts of countries, and once they're in the country, they will then chain migrate their entire family into the UK, and it's just going to be an exponentially growing problem, which is, I can't see improving any way, shape or form. My final point before ending is the Islamic prayers themselves, going back to the school. Doesn't have to be done, from what I can tell, actually during school hours, and this even includes for adults. So if you have somebody, say, on a plane, or I don't know, going through the Channel Tunnel, Q8 as an example makes no time available during the day for their pupils in the education system to pray. To pray during the day. So this absolutely is not something that Islam hasn't already got figured out. That when the Islamic doctrine was being put together, so to speak, allowances were put into place which understand that life actually does happen, and you can't 100% stick to the rules 100% of the time. So it's not like it's absolutely all encompassing. The system in the faith, and it's called rakats. I've not looked too much into it, so that may just be a process of the praying or something. I don't know, but it's how I found it being referred to. And these can be additionally added during later prayers during the day. So if you miss, say, your sort of dinner time, afternoon prayer because of school, education, whatever, even work, when you do your evening prayers, you can then do additional rakats to make up for your lost ones during the day. This isn't an unknown thing. And this means, in my opinion, what's actually happening in the school is a form of Islamist action, and I do think it's almost a type of asserting dominance within the education system. I do believe that it's designed with the intent of creating a caste system, so to speak, where Islam receives a preferential treatment over other religions and people who are not religion. And I also wonder if this has been emboldened by what's been happening with the protests with Israel and Palestine as well. We've obviously been seeing a lot of although it has calmed down a lot, we have seen some awful things happen, and we have seen what has been routinely referred to as the two-tier policing system, which isn't anything new for anybody who's even done a basic research on the grooming gang scandal. It's absolutely nothing new that Islam does appear to get preferential treatment by the institutions, and I do feel that this is Islam trying to assert itself over the education system and trying to create a legal precedence to force all schools into having these prayer rooms. And just on a quick point as well, I do believe a lot of schools serve halal. Now, my understanding, and I'll have to look more into this, is that halal is only allowed for people who actually practice the faith. So I actually think a lot of schools are actually breaking laws by allowing non-Muslims to eat halal food, and I think it's actually illegal to serve it, because for people who aren't practicing Muslims, same with kosher as well, for people who aren't practicing Muslims or Jews, to engage in the slaughter of animal that they engage in would be illegal and classed as animal cruelty. So in effect, non-Muslims or non-Jews who are eating halal stroke kosher food are are in effect engaging in animal cruelty because it's not their religious belief which permits them to eat food slaughtered in that manner. I'm going to do a little bit more research into that, I think, at some point. But anyway, if you found that insightful, interesting, whatever, please like, subscribe, put a comment below. I do like getting back to your comments. I will link everything in that I find as well at the bottom for you all, so you can look it up yourself. But anyway, take care. Goodbye.